Hello and welcome to the T-Boys podcast. This is Mike Bessa. I'm here with Jed Llanes.
Hi.
And we're at Forest Hills Golf and Country Club, one of my favorite places on the east side of the city to play golf. And they just finished their 18th green, which we're going to talk about in a bit. But I'd like to introduce the gentleman with us today. We've got the golf director, Mr. Jude Eustaquio.
Hello.
And the general manager, Mr. Raymond Bunquin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Forest Hills.
Ray and I go back a long way. We're from the same school, pretty much. And we've done work with each other pretty much at all of the golf clubs that you've ever managed.
And all of the media...
and all of the media platforms that I've been in. Exactly. So this is a new venture for us, which we've gone over before. And it's a chance to more directly connect, bring what's going on in the golf industry to the public. Because, today we're pretty much reliant on magazines and newspapers. And not the juiciest stuff always gets left out. The best stuff, the most essential stuff always gets left out. So we want this podcast to address that. All right.
And Mike, I just want to add for us like millennials.
Sorry, I'm actually part of that.
Yeah,
I'm a millennial.
Good on you.
Do you still read newspapers?
I actually do. I read my papers, but not as often. As a non-millennial.
Yeah. So we get a lot of our information from Facebook.
Right.
Correct.
So this is one way to bridge the gap. Also, that's
right.
why I'm also in the podcast to bridge the gap between the new golfers, upcoming golfers, and the seasoned golfers.
And there's just in the end we're all playing golf. It's the same game.
Exactly.
We have different perspectives, different experiences, but it's still the same game. We love it with a passion. We're gonna keep doing it as long as we can. So, Forest Hills. Ray, how long have you been here? Ray's a fairly recent transplant. How long has it been, Ray?
A little over 2 years.
A little over 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and before this you were with Eagle Ridge?
I was with Eagle Ridge for about 3.5 and
then
with Sherwood for
God.
almost 16 years.
Yeah, that was where you got started. 16 years, man. God, has it been that long?
It's been that long that we've been playing together, Mr. Bess.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, gosh. We used to go down, betting every Saturday to use But here, Forest Hills, what were the challenges? When you came to Forest Hills, what was the environment? What were you walking into?
The environment, well, Forest Hills, not far from what Sherwood is. It's really a nice and like a family atmosphere. Like all of the members here are very friendly, and they're very receptive to the projects and the.
How many members total?
Right now we have 1270.
How many active? Really active?
That's active, 1270.
Wow,
yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, actually the membership grew for about 2 years already, right?
Yeah.
We came out with some programs and it worked. And the members that bought in are real golfers. They use it. Not only them, but their wives and their family use it.
Wow,
so the numbers increase, and
yeah.
The bigger number, the bigger the family of Forest Hills became.
That's the best case scenario where people are actually using the facilities, because you got a lot of clubs where the members just own shares, they pay the dues and don't show up. So although you've got your monthly dues covered, the outlets aren't making money, the caddies aren't making money. That's not a good situation.
Yeah, you see, we've weeded out, I think, all those speculators before, and now we've converted all of these speculators to now users of the club. So which helps in the day-to-day of the club and the operations and the upkeep. It's a 20-year-old golf course, and it's time to fix some stuff.
Right. And I think we're seeing the same thing, with the other clubs. Southwoods is doing renovations. Malaraya just finished, is working on the last 9, I think. Who else? Everybody's renovating.
And it ain't cheap,
to some degree. No, it's not. But it's been 20 years.
It's been 20 years, and clubs have been doing renovations. All of us in a different way. Some can make it more affordable. Some can. It's more expensive because of the way it's constructed, the way you want to do it, the situation. So it all boils down to how you can maximize what you have and make your facility better.
Cool. You're a really keen golfer, and you've played. I mean, Sherwood Hills was, twice Golf Digest Architectural Award winner, right? So coming from that course, come to this course. Similarly, Nicholas Designs, although that's a signature, and Forest Hills is a Golden Bear, right? Compare the golf courses for us.
It's totally different because it's a mountain course. So, you see, like what you said before, you cannot say which golf course is the best because each golf course gives you a different terrain, different challenge, and a different look. So again, it's golfer's perspective. And what I always say, what your backswing in the east is the same backswing in the south. So your game is where you bring it to.
Right.
So it's how you adapt to it.
But this is really, talking about flavors, you said it, this is a different golf course. More like Highlands, I guess. Midlands. More like Midlands.
It's more challenging than Midlands. It's more fair than Highlands. I know.
That's true.
Yeah, and
I'm surprised they had to work with that terrain.
I'm surprised it's not getting as it should be getting more notice for what
I think you'll find the consensus among the better players that Forest Hills is a ball striker's golf.
It's a tough track.
Yeah.
It's a tough track.
You've got to be able to you've got to be able to strike that ball. You've got to be able to get it on the greens, and there's a lot of forced carries. There's a lot of elevated tee shots.
It's a long par 71.
It's a long 71. That's
it's a long
true.
71.
And especially like today when it was wet.
And this golf course only proves that you don't have to be a par 72 to be a championship caliber golf course.
Some of the best golf courses are par 71s.
Exactly. Or par 70.
Or par 70s.
Right? US Opens are played on par 70s.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's, I think, if you really wanted to toughen this golf course up, you could make it nearly unplayable.
But it's unfair.
But it would be unfair. But what my point there is that you have that capacity, right, to challenge anybody. You can make it easy, move the pins forward, move the tees forward, put the pins in easy spots, or you can make it really difficult. Grow the rough, narrow the fairways, shave everything down. You can make it. It's a course that'll challenge anybody. And I think that's the real ultimate versatility of the Nicklaus course, at least. Right? The Palmer course, mountain course again, but again, very different character.
But dramatic. I call it more dramatic.
That's true.
The elevation changes there are, would drive you crazy.
I know.
Get a calculator and start to formulate.
I love the view from what hole is
12.
It? 12.
12. The view from
looking
12
over
is fantastic.
You can see that's the one unique thing about that course is from that vantage point you can see almost a complete back nine. There's only a couple of holes, the ones behind you that you can't see, but that's a gorgeous golf course.
And there's something about that, the Palmer course. You don't know who's going to do well till you get to the last three holes.
Yeah. Exactly. It's shorter than the Nicklaus.
I know, but
considerably shorter.
But I think it's actually more similar to Highlands than it is to Midlands. If you want to compare mountain courses, right? Because this is a more target course.
But the last three holes give you problems.
Well,
even the best of them have problems on that three.
Yeah, holes. 16 is interesting because if you're a long hitter and you're depending on which tee you're
takes
playing,
your long game out.
Actually, I just take it over that tree.
Well, I hope I can hit it as accurate as you do. But
really, I just take it over that tree in the hazard.
We
figured out the line.
I take the safe route. I just stay on the left side. Take it as a 3-shot hole.
Exactly. If you play it as a 3-shot hole, you could hit a couple of irons, right? You could hit iron and maybe a hybrid.
Jude's distance is you and me combined. So,
what do you take off that hole? What do you take off that hole? What do you hit on 16? Yeah.
Well, it depends on that time of the year. Most courses in the Philippines is like that with the wind change and the course condition change. This time it's wet. When it's wet, most of the time it's lift clean in place there, and most of the time you don't really want to risk having to cross that creek just because it's wet. And more often not, the play is really to hit it before that little lagoon and then try your luck to clear the next lagoon. And you're going to have a decent 100-yard shot. But
completely uphill, though.
Completely uphill. And that's, I think, the main difference there for most players is that typical 110 to 80-yard shot. When you add that much elevation, even for me, it's a culture shock because I spent, almost 10 years of my golf game in Florida, which is flat. And you get there and it's like, you don't hardly see anything other than the flag that's giving you, okay, it's somewhere there. And then in the summertime, you can go from an 80, 90, 100-yard shot, and if you left it short, you're going to have another 60-yard shot because the ball just keeps
roll
going back down.
That is a brutal hole if you miss it short.
And then you add I myself had 2.5 clubs on my third shot.
Yeah, it's.
I actually got on in 2 once.
Wow.
But we were playing from the white tees,
And you crossed
senior tees. No, I didn't cross it, but I hit it to just before the creek.
tree.
Just before the creek.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from there it was what did I
About
hit? 5 wood.
240.
I punched the 5 wood or something.
And it ran up in the summer.
Well, actually, I flew the green.
Wow.
I flew the green. I went all the way to the back, almost in that back bunker on the
That's
left.
it, you're giving me more strokes.
Oh, we have to tee it up again, man. We haven't teed it up in fucking ages.
Those are no, very few.
Yeah.
Very few
It was,
occurrences
you
that
know,
get to
it was a fun game, and I was kind of getting frustrated with having to play off to the left. So I asked the caddy if there was a shortcut down the right, and she said, "Yeah, sir. If you hit it to what did she say? 220, 230. If I hit it 230 over the mango tree that was in the hazard, I would be just before the creek." And it was pretty wet, so I hit it. It was perfect. I tried it again when it was wet, when it was hard, and I reached the creek.
Yeah, you get in the creek.
So, yeah, if it's wet, I guess I do it. If it's dry, probably not. Easier to play safe. But then 17, man. Gosh, that's a tough hole. I mean, you have to be so precise with where you put your tee ball.
17's kind of one of those where it's a love-hate thing, mostly
Yeah.
more in the percentage.
I mean, I know how to
towards
play
the
it,
hate.
but actually executing it, at 17, you're coming down, you're a little bit tired. Or if you walk a little bit.
Actually, I when I first got here on working at the club, as opposed to as a player member, I actually came to our former general manager and asked him what the story was on the 17th.
You better listen to this one.
And I don't know if it's a known story of what really transpired, why that 17th hole
like that.
is like that. It's a tough hole, but you're forced later.
I know.
And what it was an unfortunate situation of land erosion. Gumuho yung lupa.
Oh, so there was
Where
no
the fairway
choice.
was. And
It just.
and
We lost the fair.
we lost the fairway into the ravine, and that's a steep
yeah.
ravine.
So
You're
they
not
had
going
to
to fill that
cut
up.
off at least 5 more yards from the mountain just to have a strip of a
Correct.
fairway on the left side.
They lost it. Talking about you lost the fairway.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
and then at
Yeah,
that
nothing
time,
you can do about that.
there's nothing else they can do, and
Can't go against nature, as they say,
Yeah.
right?
So, I mean, the best I played that from is from right by the cart path on the left. I mean, you've got to sneak it in there to that little corner.
actually the best
And
way
from
to
there,
play
it's-
that
it's a short shot.
for all players, my advice to that is,
Driver.
trust that you have a handicap on the hole.
Yeah.
And think of
Just
it
play
as
it
a par five.
play it as
Yeah,
a
play it as a bogey hole. I think
Yeah.
that's the safest
And,
play.
and don't be disappointed if you screw it up because you're not the only one. And it's like that even for the high competition. You always have those holes that are just tough. Nicholas has it, hole number 5. I mean, you could hit a great tee shot and make a big number.
Yep.
And you can have a bad tee shot and wind up with a bogey and felt like you had the greatest escape.
Yeah.
So, 17
Yeah, that's another
is one
tough
of
hole.
those.
That's another tough hole. And if you're a fairly long hitter, you can't hit driver there unless the tees are back and the fairway's wet. I mean,
Correct.
I've reached the bottom with like a.
I mean, that's premier if you get it down on the bottom.
Yeah.
That's Class A. That's Class A position.
If you were able to strike a T-ball,
The thing was,
Getting it
there was
down.
somebody down there that I couldn't see. Fortunately, the ball rolled to him, but it was like. So I had to run up and apologize. It was one of those things, but he was in a spot where we couldn't see, and the reason we hit was we saw everybody else
Going up.
leave the situation. And I did not. There was another guy left. So it was one of those unfortunate incidents. Good thing no one was hurt, but it was embarrassing. But anyway, back to the golf course. Then you've got that on the Palmer, that 18th tee shot.
Oh, beautiful.
Just
That's beautiful.
amazing. man.
That's a beautiful tee shot.
I know. What a way to end the round.
Yeah.
Huh?
But you know, one time there was
Actually, 10. 10 is a nice tee shot too.
10's a nice tee shot, but nothing beats the elevation of the 18th
Correct.
tee box,
Yeah.
hitting it down to the fairway
And
of
you
the
can
18th.
see everything
See
in front of
everything, you know. So it's a nice tee shot, no?
to a hard green.
To a hard green. But I tell you, Jude hit one from the blue tees to the green.
Whoa. How far was that?
okay, we have to get the situation. It was one of those times where we had
It's
really
just frustrating to
strong
play with this
wind,
guy sometimes. You know?
and it was so strong that you
They were playing
figured-
scramble.
You figured you
You
were
could
playing.
go
They were playing scramble.
Ah, okay.
And it was like, you know what? I think I can really fly out there with this. I'm sure enough. I mean, I do remember that.
Okay, what's your number with the driver?
Carry.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to carry it comfortably. I could carry about 280, 285.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
It's about
280.
Sure.
I can fly.
Yeah, but that day you carried about 320 probably.
Yeah, but I had
Yeah.
a gale force wind.
Yeah.
And I teed it up really
280,
high.
40 yard wind. Man. That's yeah.
Yeah,
Teed it up
and
really high and
and he
lean back, swing up, baby, hit it high. And it's okay to screw up because it was a scramble.
You guys birdie though? I hope so.
We birdied out.
Gosh,
I hope so.
what a shame if you did it. Would have been a sin.
But you know, talking about the 18, see, you know, Mike, you're a single-digit handicapper, Jed's a single-digit handicapper, and Raymond is a single-digit handicapper. What I've experienced over the last several years working, the magnitude and the amount of average Joe's players we've got from 16 to 30 handicaps, that their ball contact is not quite as precise. And when you have holes like 16, 17, and 18,
That's murder for him.
you know, they're not really out there, you know, looking at this is a beautiful hole. What a
We're
great
trying to
view.
survive.
You know, they're out there trying to hit the ball solid. And more often than not, what becomes they're so result oriented. And like hole number 18, there's no bailout. There's no dribbling this ball towards the green.
Nope.
You know, all you got there is a big pond.
Right. Exactly.
You gotta fly it.
You gotta fly it, and that really where it poses
Yeah.
the
That's
issue
the
for those
challenge,
holes
right.
is your ability to have a solid contact and get that ball to
Which
land.
raises a good point, because I think that's why Forest Hills isn't very popular with a lot of golfers.
Yes.
Is because
Guess-
they're both pretty tough.
Guess
courses.
how much play do we get out in the Palmer course in 100%? How much play do we get in the Palmer course?
Oh gee, I have no idea. But I do know that you don't require a member to accompany a flight on the Palmer. So your tourists are more there.
Okay, with tourists, with guests, tournaments.
40%?
Huh?
40?
40? You're being generous, Mike.
Oh really? Wow. It's even less.
It's probably 15% last time I looked at it.
Wow,
We're working our way towards the 20 now.
Yeah.
With,
And that improved already.
But you know, look, I play with one of my. I have a couple of high school classmates that are members here, and we play here a lot, and their handicaps are pretty high. I'm amazed that some of them can. I mean, you know, if you know your way around the course, you can shoot a pretty decent score, even if your ball striking skills.
well, the
aren't that
front
good.
nine
The
is
front
as
nine's-
generous as you can get. For a senior that plays the white tees,
Yeah.
you know, in the summertime, that's a very, very leisure front nine. You get to 10, 11, 12, you can handle all those holes.
Then you get
It's
to
just
13.
the finishing 6 holes
Yeah,
that
that's
starts to have teeth.
Yeah.
You know, you got that uphill par 4 and 13. Then you got a par 5 where it chokes you because you can hit it out of bounds to the right. You tug it a little left, you dribble on the
hazard,
area.
right.
And then you got a par 3 that's got a
Over
tree right
water,
in the middle. With
over a
and you gotta
hazard.
go over the hazard. 16,
And then at
17,
17,
18.
What-
yeah, that's a tough finishing stretch. But
Yeah, what I've been seeing, members in forests who play forests regularly, when they go to the flat course, they can shoot probably 3 to 4 strokes better than their
easy,
number.
Easy. You know, and I think you'll see that with all members of clubs with courses that are really difficult.
Yes.
Their games travel a lot better than somebody that's used to an easier course and then has to play a tougher course. You know, they're not put under that much pressure.
Yeah, because after Forest Hills, Nicholas and Palmer, everything else is too wide.
Yeah, actually, just comparing it to the other golf courses in the area, Valley Golf and Valley South Course. That's a
tough track.
That's a tough track.
That's a tough track.
It is monstrously long.
Beautiful.
All right, beautiful, but
Classic.
and
I call that classic.
really narrow
Corridor.
in spots.
Yeah.
I think, you know, what strikes me in Valley, they don't allow you to warm up the first 3 holes.
Yeah, number
You
one's a
gotta be
killer.
ready to play.
Remember that
Hole
article
one,
you made? The
2,
toughest
3.
18 holes.
Exactly.
And the hole number 1, the toughest hole is Valley South.
Valley South.
Guys,
Because you've got what, a 15-yard spot to put a driver in. I mean, from our tees, right? We're looking at a 15-yard wide
Flat spot.
on the fairway, and there's trees to the right, trees to the left. There's no place to miss. I mean, if you haven't warmed up, if you didn't go to the range,
You're screwed.
there's just no way you're getting through that first corner.
You're screwed.
Yeah, again, compared to, that's a tough course, yes. But it's more generous off the tee, in spots. All right? It's pretty wide, pretty generous off the tee in spots. Here, let's see, 10 is pretty good, 11 is massive.
1 is good.
One, you've got a huge
You bring
area.
out your Sunday driver and wallop out there.
Yeah. So 2 is pretty generous also. So you've got a lot of, but then I notice typically Nicholas, it narrows as you get to the greens, and then the greens are all set at angles.
Yeah.
Now nothing is really facing you.
True.
So you've got to have a lot of these holes, I think you got to play a fade. Ideally.
Yeah, that sounds familiar from Nicholas, right?
Nicholas, right?
Yeah. Which is
Nicholas and
perfect for
Trent Jones.
Jude.
Nicholas and Trent Jones, right? Everybody, they like to play. Their course is set up well for fades. But again, to the average Joe, it's most of these guys are just trying to survive on some of these courses. They're beautiful holes, stunningly beautiful, but they will take a toll on your golf ball. You're going to use them up. Of the courses here, Eastridge, how do you compare Eastridge to your courses?
I love the track of Eastridge.
Yeah,
Beautiful
Eastridge is
layout.
Beautiful layout, huh? I
Yeah.
mean, very scenic
Always
holes.
Always clean.
It's always in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful layout.
But it's more forgiving, I think. It's a lot more forgiving.
It is more forgiving for me. I just have a hard time after that
13.
short par 4 in the back 9
Down,
after the
the
tee
one
house.
going down.
One going down.
What?
It asked me to hit the driver, or hit the 3-wood, hit it hard.
I know, but
You know.
you could take a 5-iron off that tee
And
still
get your
have
par.
Yeah,
Just-
exactly. I mean, it's a huge green. The thing is that green runs away from you. So in the summertime, you're really playing a few yards before trying to dribble it on. But other than that, nice ball striking course, but really a lot more forgiving than Forest, I think. You can see the trouble concentrate, right? It focuses on the green. There are wide spots on the fairways here, but then you get closer to the green, it starts to narrow up and the green moves away from you a little bit.
Well, that's the Nicholas design.
Yeah,
You don't run it up, but it gives you a bailout area
from where you can chip.
from where you can chip. Nicholas would always tell you, if you're going to miss in front and chip it to the hole. I mean, you'll never go wrong with that theory if you're playing a Nicholas golf
and I
course.
think that's a good lesson for for the mid and higher handicaps is, a lot of these guys still try and play for par, when they've got a stroke or maybe even 2 strokes on the hole.
On the hole.
Right. So if you can't make it to the green, just don't lose your ball. Right. The key here is not to incur a penalty stroke. As long as you're not incurring a penalty stroke, you'll be fine.
Especially for guys who don't really hit greens.
Yeah.
Not everybody hits greens. At least know where to miss it.
I think the point there is that no matter how difficult the courses seem, and they are if you're set up properly and you're playing the tees that will challenge your ability, you get to the point where a guy that doesn't have those skills can still have a good time and still post a decent score. But I think the key here is also that these are the kind of courses that you want to warm up a little bit before you step on the first tee.
Yeah, I just want to add, especially here in the Philippines, so the driving ranges, they don't have a lot of chipping and pitching greens, right?
That's true.
You see a lot of these, the average Joes, they do full swings, right? They do full swings, driver, irons, and then when they actually get to the course, they don't know how to pitch, they don't know how to chip because there are no chipping greens, no pitching greens.
Yeah,
Fair point.
Because hitting a 300-yard drive looks more beautiful than chipping from 10 yards off the green, huh?
No, it's true, man. But we've all been. All of us have been at that point where you're just playing ugly and you're just trying to salvage something, right?
I think Raymond's got a really fun. You gotta have.
Yeah, he's the garbage man. Right? We call him the garbage man.
So you have to have an excellent rebuttal on that because GM Raymond here played with him enough that you watch him play and then the scores he can generate out of that and the number of greens he'll hit.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, more often than not, I'm paying him.
Because you give me strokes.
Because he's getting up and down from everywhere. So, but you're right, Jed. Coming from United States, also, typical golf course does have a big practice facility,
For short
big
game.
putting green, and a big chipping pitching area, and a big bunker to work on your short game. And there are some courses that got that. I believe Southwoods
is fantastic. Santa Elena has one.
Oh yeah.
Has got one.
Alabang has a beautiful
Yes.
short game area.
Alabang.
Just recently redone. Really big and
Really nice.
beautiful.
Yeah.
In fact, that's where we had our 2019 rules seminar because it's set up beautifully. Where you
Even
can just do that.
South Links.
Oh yeah.
They have a really nice chipping
South
and
Links is
putting area.
perfect. That's
Really nice. And you'd learn how to drive it in the fairway in that golf course.
Most people hate that course, but I don't.
No, I love
it,
that
man.
golf course.
I know that golf course.
Teaches you discipline
and
and a lot of use balls.
I think a big lesson for a lot of golfers, the mid and high handicappers, is that there is a way to, no matter how tough a golf course may seem, there is a way to play it.
Exactly.
You just haven't figured it out yet, right? It might mean leaving your driver in the bag and hitting a few more 3-woods, maybe a few hybrids, whatever. Just stay out of trouble, keep your nose clean. Take the penalty stroke out of play
And work on your short
and
game.
work on your short game.
but
from the front of the greens should be easy.
there are a lot of average Joes also who keep asking, why am I not shooting, lower than what I'm supposed to, I want to shoot? Well, you're going to the practice range like once in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, you also have to understand.
Weekend warriors who want to shoot really low without midweek play or without midweek range at least.
At least, man.
It's going to be difficult,
No,
really.
yeah.
I learned how to play by being immersed in golf school for almost 3 years. Jude here went high school and college scholarship in a Division 1, Division 2 school in the States, won state amateur and all that. Mike's been playing forever. And
not as long
you've
as
been
most.
playing because your wife loves the game, and you
still
love the game. So we all went through numerous thousands of golf balls in the range, hours of practicing chipping and putting, betting those, how many bucks per 3-putt or whatever. So for people who are starting and are looking for a low score without practicing in a week, it's going to be difficult.
That's not realistic.
Really difficult.
Yeah.
Good coaching is one thing.
But you can figure it out, man. I've seen guys with the weirdest technique. I mean, stuff that I wouldn't even think about emulating.
Yeah, I played it and I had teammates with those.
Amazingly effective with it.
They're ball strikers.
Right? Even the guys that, just give me my 7-iron around the green, and they can figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, there's a thing I'd like to point out on that for the guys that would be listening, trying to figure out something that will help. You can't teach feel.
Yeah.
You can't teach touch.
100%.
And you can't teach how to perceive shots.
You got to get out there.
You have to experience it. And you're not going to experience it by a good player telling you.
That's true.
You have to spend time.
What to do.
You have to spend some time on yourself because you will be your best teacher.
Yeah.
That the specific shot of what you've experienced when you pitch these balls and hit these control shots is what will react, the reaction of the golf ball. Alongside with that, it's what you can repeat.
Right.
In situations.
Most of the guys that go out there and play, I don't think they have a keen sense of an idea of what shots they know how to hit and repeat. That they get confused whether they're going to chip and run it or hit it a little high or whatever. And I think for me, for those guys that really want to improve, as opposed to trying to hit the ball farther and buying new toys to hit the ball farther, is actually, I mean, you've heard all the good players say it, and we're going to go back and say it again, is actually when's the last time you actually hit 100 golf balls, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 yards, and chip balls around the green 20 yards?
Yeah.
Maybe got to do that at least once a week. Minimum.
Just to develop.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're going to get better.
Even just to maintain.
Just have a sense.
That's just
unless you're Raymond Bunquin. Because he doesn't need to touch it, and the touch never leaves. The man with the golden touch.
No.
Yeah, he's always played 4 wedges as long as I've known him. Or is it 5? 5,
4
right?
wedges.
4 back
wedges.
to 4. So I remember he had 64 at one point.
Yeah, when I was really practicing, I had a 64. And
I was looking at that 64, I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm going to hit myself in the face if I hit this.
not anymore. I just limit myself now to 3 wedges.
Well, I still play 4. I've got my pitching wedge and then the 3 specialty wedges.
Yeah, but the wedges right now, they're so good. I mean, manufacturers right now, not to name one, but there's several out there that really does good job with wedges, and you just have to find out which fits your game. Sometimes they know how to pitch or use it around the green, but they're just having the wrong bounce on their wedge.
Yeah,
that's what we were talking about earlier.
We were
Mike's the equipment guru here.
I have a couple of articles on my blog about how to choose wedges, because that's a function of how steep you come into the ball, whether you like to play the face open or not.
Even the environment. If
the courses are soft or hard. It's wet today, so I couldn't use
what kind of sand they have in the
what
bunker.
kind of sands in bunkers.
Whether it's crushed marble or beach sand or whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All of these things. I mean, if you don't know, my experience here is that most people buy wedges based on loft gaps, and that's it. All they want to know is, okay, my pitching wedge is this, and I need 5 degrees between that and my next wedge, and I need another 5 degrees between that and the next one. That's as far as they go, but they don't realize the most important part of the wedge is the bottom. It's the sole, because
bounce.
that's what interacts with the ground.
Like, Jude, how many wedges do you have right now?
I've got four wedges, including the pitching wedge.
Yeah, I play 4 wedges, including the pitching wedge.
It wasn't like that before. I have more wedges now than I did before. But that's what transpired because of the lofts on the irons have changed.
True.
So
everything's a lot stronger
My
now.
pitching wedge before was a 48. So now my pitching wedge
That's
is
a gap wedge at
45
this
degree.
point. Yeah, that's a gap wedge at this point. That's true.
Gap wedge is 52 traditionally.
But I play a 50, and I mean, a few of the sets I know of pitching wedges as strong as like 43 degrees. So I mean, that means your next wedge is going to be 48.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we can also help. That the average Joes can look into. Sometimes it's not really 8 iron, and then they think, okay, 9 iron. I was on the range yesterday, and then some guy was like, "Oh, you have a 10 iron. Where did that come from?" Like, I should have a 10 iron also, but they don't understand. These are different lofts.
Right. What?
Like that, there's a revolution now. Somebody's trying to remove all of the numbers of the irons, instead they wanted to stamp the lofts
on it. Yeah.
Oh, welcome to Bryson DeChambeau's world or something.
Yeah, that was the Ben Hogan company. The new Ben Hogan company.
The Fort Worth irons.
Yeah, the Fort Worth irons. They came out with a set that they wanted just to stamp lofts on. So, I mean, there's no stigma that you're playing a 7 iron, but it's really a 6 iron.
Not only for the average Joe, all of these things, like all of us went to club fitters, and it's getting the right measurements. If you have yourself measured, it doesn't mean when you have yourself measured you have to redo all your sticks. It's just knowing what's needed for you or what fits you, what kind of shaft, the length, the whippiness of the shaft, and what kind of loft differences do you have. It's just getting yourself and accepting that you should get measured, know your prescription, and so that you're aware when you get new equipment or you adjust your equipment.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was amazed how off my specs were when I first got fit. I think I had 2 irons that were the same loft, and then 1 iron that was supposed to be weaker than those 2 that was almost as strong as the 2 clubs up. So, and I was playing forged irons, and I didn't know that you had to have them looked at every once in a while.
Every 3 months.
So that was a real eye-opener. But coming back to Forest, if you were playing with if you met somebody that was going to play Forest Hills for the first time, both the courses, what would you tell him that he would need to have in his bag? What club would you say he would absolutely need to have in his bag?
Have a comfortable rescue and mid-iron.
And a lot of balls.
Well, there are a few ravines.
Few ravines.
Yeah.
Damn. Might play the wrong course.
2, 1 on 3, 1 on 4.
Few per hole.
2 on 5. Yeah.
More than really having a specific club, if there was an aspect about your game that is going to be so exposed at Forest Hills, is your ability to drive the ball. I think in Forest Hills that is key. You have to be a good driver of the golf ball. You got to keep that ball in play.
True.
And no matter what that is. I mean, I don't think our Forest Hills is very penal off the green, other than really hole number 5 of the Nicholas scores and some in the Palmer. But it's very penal off the tee for an off shot.
Right.
And whatever that tee shot is, whether it's a driver or a 3-wood, you have to be a good driver of the golf ball.
Yeah, 100%. That's the landing areas are, for the most part, are generous. But if you get a little too aggressive, go for a little more, or try and play too safe, then you can actually get into more trouble.
Yeah.
So there are spots that you absolutely need to hit, I think, on
like
both courses.
For me, I'm an average hitter, and it plays long, especially too long for me this season.
Today.
That's why I always tell the guys, I don't have the distance like Jude has or some of the team member have, but I said after the game I'll bring my rescues and my woods to the spa because they're too tired after a round of golf. It's
give them a workout.
Give them a break. Give them a break.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about Forest, it teaches you discipline off the tee, teaches you to be sharp on your short game, And
I like the fact that you keep, when the conditions aren't this damp, right? We've had so much rain in the last few days.
Few days?
Yeah,
few weeks?
Yeah, last few weeks, really. I mean, rain's been non-stop. Monsoon in the last 2-3 weeks. So all the courses in the city are soaked. All the courses in the area are soaked. So today was especially tough. But in firmer conditions, what I like about these golf courses is you can run the ball on.
That's true.
Right? There's a lot of courses now, I find that the greens, they keep the greens so wet. The fronts of the greens really watered up. So if you landed there, you're trying to run it on, it's just going to die there. And then
But they
got a
have
really
tabletop
muddy chip.
hard greens.
Yeah, and then if you fly it on, it's hard, right? And it's not going to hold. So I kind of find that a little bit unfair, because you're depriving, and it's not because I don't care, I can fly it there, right? But it's for the guy that can't hit that ball. I mean, you've got to give them, you're penalizing the mid and the high handicappers is what you're doing, right? You're only giving them one shot. And most of them can't hit that one shot, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
So these are the guys that are going to have hard times. So that's what I like about this club is it's friendlier. If you know that, if you're not a great ball striker, you can still have a decent game here. You can still have a pretty good game here, right? That's what I like about it. It seems to be a more fair setup. Why is that? What's with that practice of watering down the fronts?
Well, I don't know much about the watering down the fronts. I don't think any superintendent purposely
Would do that.
would try to water down the front.
I play a lot of golf.
I know some courses that do that, Mike, especially on big tournaments.
Yeah,
but
we won't mention any names.
We won't mention
here,
any names, but on a day-to-day basis, like what Jude said, I don't think purposely.
I've played a couple that do. So
one
it's
thing
a tough thing, right?
we do acknowledge is difference in grass that has different effect.
True.
In terms of what you were addressing about the bounce play, why don't you see a PGA Tour course that's played in North America and played in Europe? You got balls that are dribbling on, then you got balls that are spinning back. Those are both struck the same way by a Tour Pro, yet it's reacting different ways, and that's just because of different soil
Setup,
condition.
yeah.
And here in Philippines, that Manila carpet grass Zoysia and the Tiff Dwarf is just going to react differently.
That's two different ways of playing the
receiving
approach.
those balls.
Yeah, yeah.
But in terms of course maintenance practice, hit or miss, really. I don't think there's going to be really a purpose of trying to. I don't really see a point of getting the front wet and getting your greens dry. I guess the best way to fix that is really what we try to do at the club is constantly have communications with your superintendent and really try to make sure that he goes out there and play and show him why.
That's what we try to tell the superintendent. The superintendent's getting not only a management point of view on how the members would want the golf course, but a player's point of view. And Jude would play an approach shot with a Tiff Dwarf approach grass which is Tiff Dwarf in the approach, differently when there's a Zoysia on the approach.
Yeah, Zoysia's grabbier.
It'll just grab it.
It'll grab it and it won't roll. The one bounce, it will stay there.
Yeah, you gotta really be aggressive with that ball.
Yep. So, again, we tell the superintendent what's happening on the golf course, how the player's point of view is, and we'll tell him if he's doing too much watering because he'll hear it from us initially.
Like for us, we get that at times. Mostly when we have our greens like that, it's from a sprinkler head bust or a lateral line leak. But I couldn't imagine a specific instruction from management
to wet the approach.
I know.
Because that just seems really.
I've played at a couple of clubs as a member, and in one of them, consistently, from day to day, you hit the ball to the front of the green and it just stops there.
And we've gone through the extent of having to sand our approaches for the last.
We are still
2
consistently
years,
doing
consistently
sanding the approaches.
We are rating
You
the
know-
approach, sanding it to remove some of that organic matter out.
Yeah.
You know, 20
Eat that
years,
shit.
20 years of nature on your golf course, the thatch, the silt, you know, it changes the whole chemistry of things in the subterranean of that grass. So
Yeah.
there's so many cultural practices, Mike, and we're fortunate we're be able to do a little bit of, you know, repair on it, but not total as of now, because you know how much a golf course would
Yes.
cost, right? And we
Sand.
can't.
Yeah. Just
Sand.
the sand.
Mud is
It's
sand,
crazy.
sand.
Yeah.
Sand is expensive.
That you know, and I think that's what most golfers can't wrap their heads around, right? When they hear the figure of what
They think it's crazy.
what it costs to build a golf course. I mean, they just can't wrap their heads around
It's
it.
crazy
I mean,
now.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean,
It's crazy now.
what is Port Azul is being renovated.
25
Yeah.
per hole.
Oh wow.
Well, let's just not
That's a
get
big number.
I mean, we don't have to go to the construction costs. I mean, we could just compare
Maintenance.
your typical maintenance inputs and
Yeah.
price of ferts, chemicals, sand,
Un-
and compare it to your inflation rate, and then compare it to the monthly dues. I mean, monthly dues hardly ever moves or never moves.
Right.
Inflation goes up yearly. You know, you have the government tries to control and regulate it and try to keep it from ballooning, but it's consistently gone up. And then at the same time, your inputs on the golf course and your labor costs has exponentially grown since the inception of the club. Yet the monthly dues don't move.
You know, an average golf course right now, average meaning to maintain, not to improve, just to maintain regular inputs, the right number of manpower, the right number of fuel and machinery, you know.
Fuel.
It would cost about anywhere from 1.3 million to 1.5 million right now.
Wow.
But you know, that's the norm. That's actually industry norm right now. But some courses who are
Spend
in
more.
great shape, maintenance is how much you put in the golf
Correct.
course, how much you spend, how much inputs you can make, you know. And some courses are within the 1.3 to 1.5 million range a month on per golf course maintenance. Some courses are about 3 million a month on one course alone.
Yeah.
Those who are fortunate enough to have enough cash flow for it.
Yeah.
And we were talking about dues on the course, right? And then a lot of people keep asking, okay, why are these courses, 4,000 pesos, 6,000 pesos, 7,000 pesos in green fees? And the association dues are, like us in Santa Elena, it's about baseline of like 10,000 and it goes to about 15,000 a month. And people keep asking us, like, why is it so much? I mean, that's the reason why they.
That's the reason why
in that shape.
Exactly.
the input
They're
of
doing so-
the inputs that Santa Elena puts in the maintenance of the
I
golf
think they spend,
courses
what, 5?
for all 27 holes,
Yeah.
probably about
5 million?
6.
6?
Yeah.
It's gone up.
So yeah, the inputs of Elena, and it's beautiful. It's like a manicured garden.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well,
Hats off to the guys out there.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job.
So that's why people are asking, okay, how come some of the golf courses are doing so bad and some golf courses are doing so well? Well, it costs a lot of money,
It costs a
especially
lot of
now
money to keep
with
it
inflation.
in that kind of shape.
crazy.
Which brings around another question. because
Maintaining a golf course and improving a golf course are two different things. So to improve your golf course, it's another set of budget aside from the regular
And
maintenance on
we're
a
in a
month to
particular
month.
predicament. I think a lot of golf courses are in a particular predicament where the turf grasses are all imported, and then you have we have some very aggressive local endemic species. So the proliferation of weeds and stray grasses is always a problem here. In Thailand, quite a few courses have just, once Zoysia comes in, they just let it go. They just let the thing take over.
Jude, why don't you tell them about Zoysia? You tell them about Zoysia, what we have. Well, recently, when we redid the 18th hole, our consultant and I went to Thailand to check out the Tiff Eagle farm. And when we were there, it was a pleasant surprise that the new breed of Zoysia, Zeon Zoysia, they had the biggest farm of Zeon Zoysia in Lam Chabang. So it was like a 10-hectare Zeon Zoysia farm. And they were explaining that this is a better variety or a hybrid of what our Manila carpet grass or Zoysia matrella is. Zoysia matrella is a very strong strain,
Right.
but the coloration is a bit yellow-green, right?
Yes.
This one is dark green, like the Tiff Dwarf, like the Tiff Eagle.
So it looks better.
Looks better. And the amazing thing is, when I was with John Coke, there was this batch of Zeon Zoysia under the tree, under
it's
shade.
shade tolerant.
And then, it lives. It doesn't turn brown. It's pretty strong. The only thing that's difficult for it is difficult about Zeon Zoysia is the growing time, the thatch,
Yeah.
the growing time.
That's true. Well, that's true of
It takes
Matrella also.
It takes 6 months before it
Correct.
gets established. But once it's established,
Yeah,
you don't see weeds creeping in.
No, the thing is so tight. Nothing
yeah.
can get
so
in.
we, aside from buying the Tiff Eagle, John believed that first thing, he didn't want Zoysia. The local Zoysia he didn't want because he said it's going to get washboard effect when you cut it, and then it's going to get that spongy, and Nicholas wants it fast and firm. Always, that's one of their philosophies, fast and firm.
All right.
But when he saw this, the shade
This strain,
tolerance,
yeah.
the density,
I mean, how are you gonna?
and then said,
Right.
Raymond, I think this one's right.
Yeah.
We can do this. So we bought some Zeon Zoysia. Maybe when you played
propagating
earlier, you saw it on the 167 and
On the surrounds?
Yeah,
The green?
167. No, on the tee boxes.
T-box.
Oh, that's what you're. Okay.
Yes.
You're
So-
resodding those with Zeon Zoysia.
We sprigged them. Sprigged.
That's
Not
just
sod.
sprig.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully that will be dense enough in the next 2 months. It took forever
Cool.
before it started.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
That's why Southlinks took so long to open. I think Southlinks.
But they don't have Zeon.
No.
That's,
That's
Matrella.
Matrella. That's Matrella. But it was it's a public course, so it's a low cost option. It's an endemic. So I mean, you just
We're
put it in
very
and let it
excited
go.
for that Zeon. I mean,
I think that's the future, because it's a much hardier grass, and it's used to the amount of rain that we get. The one thing that I will tell you about my experience on Matrella, Zoysia Matrella, is I played Southlinks right after a tremendous thunderstorm. Okay, yeah, it was sloshy like that, but there was no mud on the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, very little mud on the ball, only in really poor places.
And the ball's like teed up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I go, oh, why aren't all golf courses like this? This is pretty good. But again, I guess it was cultural at the time, right? Because that's what the industry practice was. It was Tiff Dwarf. It was Tiff Dwarf and Tifton 419.
419s.
Tifton 419 on the fairways, Tiff Dwarf on the greens.
Tiff Way on the greens.
Yeah. Oh, that too. And then Tiff Eagle came in later when Santa Elena first used it on the first two.
And this is the funny thing. A few years ago, Dr. Micah Woods, one of the top, turf,
I met him.
turf professionals, said that the best grass for this region is Seashore Paspalum. And so this was probably 10 years ago. And then, like 4 years ago, I attended a turf conference in Thailand. And he goes up on stage that, I'm sorry, I was wrong. The best grass for this region is Zoysia Matrella, Zoysia, or other words known as Manila carpet grass. I mean, for him, as big as he is in the industry, to admit that Manila carpet grass or Zoysia is the best thing for our region.
And it comes down to maintenance, man. I mean, that's an endemic. You're not going to have to bend over backwards to try and keep it alive. It's going to be naturally healthy. Then you can treat it the way you want it. You want to make it hard and fast, you can do that. You want to keep it soft, you can do that too. And that's the versatility when you've got healthy grass versus grass that you're just trying to get to live, right? I mean, you're gonna get stuck with whatever you can get with the other one.
That's the reason why we're very excited with that project on those teeing areas. Forest Hills, we live up to our name. We are hilly, and left and right is forest.
A lot of trees.
And we have a lot of shade issues, and we love our trees, and we try to
not to cut as much as possible.
We try to trim them in a way so that we can get some sunlight, and it's a very difficult task.
Yeah, understood.
To set the woods a little bit further back to get some sunlight on our
and air circulation.
And
and that's air circulation. That's a real problem with the amount of moisture we get, right? I mean, if you're not getting any circulation there, it's gonna stay muddy, and then once that hardens, I mean, nothing's gonna grow there, right? But moving on, I want to talk about Jude for a change, right? Jude played. For those of you that don't know, Jude played top level amateur golf in the U.S. What school was that? University of Florida?
My freshman year, I was at University of Florida. Then I transferred to Florida Southern.
And your teammates with?
In University of Florida, who's your teammates? This is crazy.
Billy Horschel is the most successful.
And who's this guy from Colombia?
Well, Camilo's brother was my teammate as well. He won the Colombian Open. Manny Villegas, who had, in my opinion, had a better golf swing than the famous Camilo Villegas. But from my freshman year was Billy that really took off and was very successful, and he's still a very, very
big
successful PGA Tour player. And he was actually my big brother. There were 6 of us freshmen that came in there, and he was a sophomore, and he was the guy that was supposed to assigned to me.
Oh, cool!
And he was from Grant, Florida, and
what was his game like back then?
Fast. He's one of the fastest players I ever played with. Him and Matt Every, who also played on tour.
Matt Every.
He's a fast player and very, very passionate about his game.
Yeah, you can see it, man. He's still really intense. Even his interviews, he's relaxed, but there's this intensity that's just, waiting to come out. He's just like holding it down. But you're playing with another fellow who is like the top golfer in the world today.
Brooks Koepka. I mean, it's crazy now, I get introduced by some of our members to and it's like, oh, you're a golf director, he was teammates with Brooks Koepka.
Not only that, he beat Brooks every day.
I mean, that's just because I was older than him. Brooks was our high school teammate back in West Palm Beach at Cardinal Newman, and we've had some fun rounds together. That's for sure.
You guys are still in touch, right?
Not as much. We kind of kept in touch throughout. He went to FSU. And I went to a different school. We'd see each other on the amateur tournaments in the summertime. Occasional message here and there. I'm sure he's really busy now. But
busy? Are you sure? Because he said he doesn't practice.
I don't know what he's busy with, but I'm sure he's preoccupied and had to figure out what to spend his money on.
What was he like back then?
Back then, Brooks was quiet. He was not a guy that spoke a lot. He was quiet, and and I think the tour also does it to him. He was underrated.
Yeah, that's the chip on his shoulder.
I mean, and it really was, even throughout our high school, even throughout college. Mind you guys, our high school team had 2 state junior champions. I was the state junior champion, and Chappell Brown was the state junior champion, and we had another guy in the team, Robbie White. He's an attorney now. He's a year older than me, and Chappell and myself were the top 3 players. And then Brooks was number 4 as a freshman. But we all knew how good he was. Beautiful golf swing, great competitor. It's just we were older. I was a junior, he was a freshman, and he played number 4. But at that time, it was hard to get in the limelight. And eventually, once we had left, he became state high school champion.
Was his swing then still pretty much what his swing is now?
It was. I showed you the picture of Brooks back then. He obviously had changed because Americans tend to grow fast between the age of 14 to 18
And bulk up.
Yeah.
I kind of missed that.
Well, I saw the pictures, and he was a scrawny kid.
Yeah. You look at him today, man.
was-
I mean, jeez.
He was
Yeah, he's still
really
scrawny,
skinny.
Now he's in the Golf Digest.
Yeah, the
posting,
naked.
like,
Oh gosh.
I don't
Was
think
that the
I saw it.
the
It was
skin
a-
issue?
Yeah.
What do they call it? The skin issue?
So if you would have asked me before that that's something Brooks would be doing, you'd be laughing at it. I mean, he was there on my 18th birthday party celebrated a little small gathering, and I mean, I know of him. I would never claim that he was a good friend or a best friend or a guy that I talked to all the time, but at that time we knew each other. I mean, it's a guy that I'd see there, we'd shake hands, and we'd be very comfortable with each other, that's for sure.
Cool.
He almost came here after winning the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
This was last year. He goes, Kuya, look at this.
Raymond messaged and asked about Boracay, and he shot back and replied, and then he wound up going to Bali, Indonesia. Just recently, he messaged again and continually asking about a place to go somewhere in Southeast Asia.
Send him to
And
Palawan,
then
man.
I told him,
Palawan is the
before you were just a one-time major champion, now you're a four-time major champion. Maybe you need to go to Amanpulo where people are not going to go bother you now, and you can actually take your crew and go there. And that's what
Nobody's going to bother them there.
yeah. So
But I think the people who will bother him here are the golfers, right? I mean, or the regular people.
Nobody else is going to know who he is.
Nobody's gonna know.
Nobody
Like,
else
you
is
go to
gonna
the
know who
States,
he is.
everybody will know who
Yeah, but
he is.
you know, golf clubs here, when they say, hey, Brooks is there, Brooks is going here, they'll be all around that. They'll be all around that.
I know. They'll be all over it.
So he won't have his privacy and, me time.
It's interesting because I think he's got a pretty unique swing. It's not so much a turn and rotate, but he comes down and throws his arms this way. And I'm not sure how he manages to hit that fade. Normally, if I throw my arms that way, the ball's going left. It's an interesting thing. Yeah. No, it's just looking at the swing.
It's athletic, super athletic.
Very, and he seems to have a real handle on what his swing is going to do, what ball flight it's going to produce.
For what he does, you have to kind of have a little bit of feel. I don't think most guys know that his dad is a good player. His dad, Bob, he's probably a decent 1-2 handicap. And he's a club champion before at Sherbrooke, and his little brother is also a good player. So these guys are,
came from a family of golfers.
Family of good players, and if I remember playing with his dad and we're still back.
So that's a swing that he learned when he was a kid, and he just never changed it.
In high school, I remember his coach was Warren Bodke. I know he's working with. Is he with Butch Harmon now? I don't know. I don't know.
He's with Butch.
He's with Butch Harmon now, and I know back then he was with Warren Bodke back in West Palm. But it's not like us players. We don't really go and ask who you're seeing, and by the time I knew of him, and then I kind of left the game. When I left the game, he was winning some in Europe and messaging him a little bit for congratulatory remarks, just casual stuff. And then next thing you know, like that,
US Open.
He won the tour event. He's in the PGA Tour, like that. Click, won the US Open.
Yeah, that was wild, man.
He has
That
more
victory
majors
was
than regular
crazy.
tour events.
Yeah, nuts. That's the puzzle now. Why he brings his game to that level at the majors, and it's, I don't know, maybe looking for it, maybe using the regular events to find what it was.
What do you call? There was that one article where Rory made a comment how he beat Brooks was just use Brooks to beat him.
Yeah.
Choose a more laid back attitude about it, and
force Brooks to press.
something along those lines. I couldn't quite verbatimly
But
remember.
you don't see Brooks pressing or something.
No. But well, to be fair, in the Tour Championship, he did that string of, he had a double and then the string of three bogeys in a row, and that just took him out of the Tour Championship. But Rory played amazing. I mean, he started Brooks and JT. JT was what, 10 under to start, right? Under that new handicapping system that they've got going. JT was 10 under, Brooks I think was 8 under, and Rory was like 6 under.
That's a difficult format.
I know.
You can give the world number 1 strokes. It's like you and me and him giving Jude 3 aside or 2 aside. That's crazy.
Well, I know, but I was wondering how the handicapping, I haven't really looked into it, but they started like that, right? When they started the Tour Championship, JT was 10 under, Brooks was 8, and Rory was like 6 or 5 or something like that. And for Rory to come from that, to make up that deficit and win, I think that was pretty impressive. I mean, I don't think I've seen Rory's. Well, no, the U.S. Open, when he won his first U.S. Open, I think that was his most impressive ever. I thought that was the most impressive.
Was that the one where he shot 18 under par at Congressional?
I know that was just.
For once, I want to make a comment because when I watched that, I didn't feel like I watched the U.S. Open.
Yeah,
because
it was too easy. Course was too easy.
Well, I think it's one of those times when, in my opinion, the USGA failed their setup. That was just a tough, long tournament. That wasn't a USGA.
It's the same when they played Chambers Bay.
True.
That's why everybody
they shot
applauded
20
this
something
year.
under or something, right?
And it's such a difficult task for the USGA to please everyone and please the tour.
That's true.
And come up with a championship course.
After they let it get away at Shinnecock, I mean, some of those greens. I mean, that episode with Phil chasing his ball down.
But the last one, the last U.S. Open was everybody raved of how good that setup was, fair, tough, and all.
And they didn't try to tweak it in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they just that's what we've got. Let it go. I mean, let them play it.
18,
I think that was really admirable.
18 under.
18 under. I remember at Congressional, I think that's what Rory shot, and it's unheard of.
But Chambers Bay was worse. 20. Jordan Spieth won it with
21,
22 under.
Something like that.
And they were complaining about the
freaky.
greens. They shot 22 under and they complain about the greens.
But to be fair, I mean, from an architect's perspective, I can understand why player was upset because I mean, the greens were like spotted, right? I mean, you had a mix of grass. I don't know. Maybe some seed got mixed in with her soil mix or something, but the greens looked awful. They putted. It seemed to putt okay, but they looked awful.
Well, your buddy Billy didn't like it that year. He complained right in the camera.
Yeah, that was a Trent Jones course too.
Well, Billy was kind of guy. He'll let you know what he thinks.
Yeah, he'll speak his mind.
He's feisty, no?
Yeah,
he was very competitive. Fella.
yeah. That's what I.
And actually, to a point back then, the other guys would find it a little too gung ho. But we had some very colorful guys. And when you have a pool of guys with a lot of talent and a lot of game, and on an individual basis, you're trying to play a team sport, yet it's in an individual game.
Right.
Sometimes it creates different kind of chemistry.
Yeah.
It's certainly different from that of like a complete team sport. Experiencing team golf is definitely very different, and that's why one of the reasons too why is it that Americans and the Europeans, the Ryder Cup thing and President's Cup, and I keep telling them, we can't say that the Americans don't jive well, because it's only in America where they got this college golf program where they learn how to kind of interact and gel with these team players. I know they don't play formats as much as the Ryder Cup, but in terms of personality, gelling, most of those guys on tour play collegiate golf, which
And
they did that.
they're with each other every week for heaven's
Yeah.
sake. I mean,
So,
and if you know that you're going to be playing with somebody, you'll probably go out and
I think
say,
they
hey,
kinda-
we're going to be together. So
bolster that whole thing. I think one got outplayed by the other. Period.
well, the last Ryder Cup, the U.S. clearly got their butts kicked, man. I mean, the course set up so
The last Ryder
perfectly
Cup,
for the Europeans.
there were a couple of Ryder Cups. I mean,
Well, with the last one in particular, that was one of Bjorn was just, everybody says he was a genius, but he just captained the winning team, and they played as well as they could have to beat the Americans, and the Americans didn't play well at all. So I think that's what made it so lopsided.
All right, I just want to ask Jude I have a lot of questions for you. I have a lot of questions for you. Like, for example, we have a lot of upcoming June golfers right now, with the likes of Adric, Yuka. Well, Yuka's, she's gonna do pro, I think, in Japan. But we have a lot of really upcoming golfers. Rian, Maliksi, Jolo, of course. I mean, do you have advice for them? Because, I mean, for them to take golf to the next level, like you have taken it to the next level in your collegiate career, I mean, what you've done is something else. It's really, a big accomplishment. So for them, these are really good golfers. They've been getting a lot of awards all over the world. Jolo has been awarded multiple times. So, like, any advice for these June golfers?
Well, one at a time, Number one, Yuka, there's not much advice to give to her. I mean, her talent is flat out just going to take her where she needs to be, and I think the decision to turn pro is an absolute easy choice. She doesn't need to prove herself anywhere other than she is a decided person that is going to take this game up for a living, and it's an excellent decision, and everybody in the country wishes her the best of luck, especially the golfing community in the country. In terms of Adric and our college-bound guys that are in that transition from their young adolescent life, transitioning to being on your own and finding out who you are as an individual at an 18-year-old boy or girl. I guess you have to kind of learn how to prioritize your life as a student athlete, always with the end goal in mind. And for me, the most number one part is know who you listen to, because you're going to be by yourself. So you have to know that person who you listen to. Because I was lucky enough back then that I had some guys that I knew how to listen to, and despite not having my parents there all the time, know who to listen to, and at the same time, learn how to enjoy the little things. Learn how to enjoy the little things. And then for the young kids who are still waiting for that opportunity, or thriving and putting the work hours, and in which their end goal is really if the first goal is to play NCAA, then you need to learn to compete outside the country and make a schedule in which you play out there, and then at the same time create a schedule that will jive to that. And lastly, they have to figure out how to have fun in the endeavor, because it's not easy. This game is brutal. It can be so lonesome.
Yeah.
You have to ride the highs as long as you can, but man, when it's rock bottom, when you're not making the putts, when you're having issues with your short game, when you're driving the ball poorly, when you've got papers, or you have to be a student, or you have to be a child, or you have to make the decisions as a teenager that you wish you hadn't have done, then I think the biggest advice to that is you have to know that person who you can listen to and trust, and listen to them and listen well.
Yeah, that becomes an issue, because there's so many people that aren't shy about giving advice.
Unsolicited advice.
Especially in the Philippine country.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it's any different than any place else. I mean, if somebody knows a little bit of something and he had a good lesson, he's not going to be shy to share that with anybody, no matter if the guy's like 10 strokes better than he is, at the game. But I think that's a key point, because golf is really played between the ears. I mean, to paraphrase Ben Hogan and several other golfers that said it before, you play golf in your head, but it's a physical activity. right? So if you're not thinking well, it's so easy for stray advice to affect what you already know if you integrate it into your thought process. That's why certain friends of mine won't listen to swing tips. So when you start talking about swing tips, they'll stand up and leave the table. Because they don't want to hear it because it'll creep into their psyche and infect the game. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things. You really do have to be careful about what you pay attention to.
Yeah, and so my wife, right? So she was a junior golfer. She went to the States. She did Junior World for the longest time. So I told her I was going to start this podcast. She was like, "Okay, you need to share, of course, some of her experiences also." And the reason why she stopped playing golf was because she got too tired.
Burnout.
So it's really tiring, especially for somebody like a kid. Every day she would go to Southwoods.
Especially if you're at a competitive level.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've got to really eat, sleep, and breathe that stuff.
Yeah. So for parents, siguro it's just let your kid be a kid.
Yeah. No. And
most of the
find
time,
find a way to from what I've seen. I mean, golf was not my first sport, and I was a very, very good rackets player. Competed national level, internationally, and what I see, the most successful ones are the ones that have the most passion, that have the greatest desire. I mean, Danny Willett just came back from like nowhere.
Again,
right? I mean, he drops off the charts, comes back, wins big, drops off the charts, wins big again. And he was interviewed, how do you do this? How do you go from rock bottom to these heights? And he says, more than anything, it's a burning desire that I want to get back to where I know I can play. And that's how he did it. So I think if there was one piece of advice that I wanted to give, the upcoming juniors, it's find a way to keep that passion burning. I mean, don't do anything that will jeopardize that desire, because the moment that goes, you're done.
Yeah, and then some parents, kasi they feel the need to live their dreams through their children. That's when they'll push them over the edge.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of that too. As a coach in other sports, as a golfer, watching the kids of my friends. You can see that some of them are a little overbearing, and I've had to tell a couple, dude, just back off a bit, a little bit. Let him be a kid. He's a kid. You gotta let him be a kid. He's gonna do kid things. So it's a tough spot, man. I mean, from the parents, I know they want the best, and they want to reach out and do what they can, but they have to know that sometimes it's better just to hang back a little bit and let your kid be. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, well, I don't think there really is a manual in which to guide in terms of the sports psychology aspect of raising a talented young child into a specific endeavor in which they would want to succeed in or pursue with a great desire, as you say. But it's always such a slippery slope. I mean, you could be a parent that is ultimate supportive, or you could be the parent on the other spectrum of so passive, or you could be the one in between, and either way you put yourself in the spectrum, something's going to be amiss.
Yeah,
there really is. And God bless all the parents out there, because there's not one parent out there who's screwing it up for their child has that intention of doing so.
Of course.
I mean, I really believe that each one of those parents are spending time, money, effort,
lots of it,
love, care to make sure they provide the absolute best need for their child. Now, again, we're gonna go back to the child. I am asked and placed in this position to give another one of them unsolicited advice, and I am just doing it based off what I can recall of what I enjoyed in life that worked for me. Maybe that's a better way of doing it. On those days when I was in high school, when I was already in the United States doing it, I had a great mentor, Brian Simmons, who owned the golf course where I practiced. Now, he wasn't the kind of guy that will baby you.
Tough love.
It was tough love. He wanted you to practice and beat the ball out of the dirt, a la Hogan. Because I used to draw and hook the ball coming from Philippines, and they wanted me to learn how to cut the ball. And I dug it out of the dirt and figured out how to cut the ball. Weekend Mike Grimmon did that. And Carl can attest to that. Carl Santos can attest how I did that and all of them. And did I enjoy it all the time? Absolutely not. There were times when I was lazy. I didn't want to do it. I was getting tired. But did I know it was working? What I knew is if I prepared that well, I felt foolproof to compete. You know, going into competition, since I put the time and hours, I was more confident. So that worked for me. It probably is not the same for Brooks. Brooks liked to take a little bit more relaxed time and then, you know,
Sharpen his game up.
I was more towards the VJ Singh kind.
Do a lot of work so that it stays
The whole
Do a lot
season.
of work to keep it up. But then I will take a break.
Yeah, no, you
Then I
have
will
to,
take
just
a
for
break.
your body.
But when it was the competition time, I would hit balls and play. And I loved it. But I'd like playing more.
Yeah.
More than hitting balls. I
Yeah.
like to play more. And then when it came about, so that's in terms of that. Entering tournaments is a whole different ballgame. That's a conversation you got to have with your parents of number one, what you can afford. Number two, what's available. Actually, what's available is number one. Number two is what can you afford.
Right.
So you enter which fits in the schedule that is enjoyable for the child and doable for the parent.
Right.
Right?
Perfect.
So it's one of those, I think.
Finding the balance is a little difficult.
Finding how you motivate the child. I get motivated by results. When at that time when I knew if I'd won and did something great and won a tournament, it was a gratifying feeling, and I liked that. Henceforth, I was motivated to
practice more.
Right? I didn't need to get assurances from my parents or from anybody else. I just know I like that feeling that when I walked up to the first tee,
You know what your swing is going to do.
well, I know I'm gonna beat you because I probably worked harder than you.
He feels like you don't belong.
It really was.
That was the Hogan ethic, right?
Yeah.
That was the Hogan ethic.
And that kind of rubbed off a little bit from my coach. He was kind of like that from the Midwest. His coach played in the Ryder Cup, won the PGA Championship, and then they were like the product of that generation, and he was a product of that. And here I was. That was I wasn't an American. That was in Florida, and he was the one
That was
that
helping you out.
put his arms around me and said, "Kid, I'm going to get you along. We're going to get you playing as good as you can get."
Oh.
Kind of thing. So it's one of those.
Yeah.
So
So it was a whole confluence of good circumstances.
Yeah,
right,
and the
that
key
put
to
you
that
there.
really for me was the right people
Right.
that I trusted that was able to help me get there. Because it certainly wasn't just me, and it certainly wasn't just the parent. It was definitely a whole concoction of decision that gels together, and by the grace of God, hopefully it works.
Yeah. So you gotta find the right situation where the kid's talent can blossom.
Correct.
That's the
And that's
formula.
got to be a trial and error.
Yeah.
There's no one formula.
perfect
That's
Because
true.
if there was,
And-
everybody would be doing it. I think the only formula that worked that way is what we derive from the LPGA Tour for the Korean ladies. Is hard work by numbers will gain more benefit in terms
Right.
of output.
That's true. The more people play, the easier it's going to be to find the exceptional ones.
Correct.
Because they'll come to the top
Mhm.
quite easily. And then those are the ones you invest in longer term. But they have the numbers, man. I mean, what are the numbers like here? How many rounds does Forrest do? Roughly, a month.
A month.
Ballpark.
I mean, we're averaging a day about 120, 140, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
120, so
On a
times
week,
3.
on a weekend, we're having about
360, 400 a month?
no. We're having about 260.
On weekends,
Yes.
about 120 on weekdays.
So maybe 500-600 a month-ish. Okay, multiply that by the. That's still pretty low.
$2,000.
That's still pretty low.
You know, the nice thing about us on weekends, we've developed every other weekend we do a Saturday Nicklaus shotgun, because everybody wants to play the Nicklaus from
on a Saturday morning
from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Right.
And everybody comes here. You know, we don't book tee times in advance. It's first come first serve. The member comes in, they write in their reservation of time. Some people before come in here at 3:30 in the morning to get a Nicklaus tee time.
Wow.
You know, so
Wow.
we kind of figured out, let's try this. Why don't we do a shotgun from 7 a.m.
Yeah.
for the Nicklaus on a Saturday?
That makes sense, man.
And we limit the number to 108.
Yeah, so it moves quickly.
So that moves quickly. By 11:45, before noon, everyone's done.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Calling MG. Can you please do this also for because for us we have to book at 12 noon every Monday. It's the Hunger Games. I'm telling you, 12:01, all tea times are gone. Gone. So
do you text in?
no, it's online. It's online. It's online booking. I start 12:01. All tea times are gone.
You know, it was difficult to start with because we didn't know how the reaction would be or what the effect would be. And, you know, it was true that people were coming in at 3 in the morning, 3:30. We even had a request that the locker should be open at 3:30 in the morning. And to confirm that people were really coming in and not the front desk favoring anybody, Jude came in one time at 3 in the morning. I came in in separate days just to check whether people were, and they were here. They were the ones waking up the guard at the front door. And you know, the 6 to 8 slot, that would only accommodate 12 flights.
Yeah.
So why not? Let's make it a 7 o'clock shotgun. Let's try it out. Let's accommodate
that makes sense.
108 players. You know,
Orchard did it also.
yeah, Orchard followed.
Orchard is notoriously difficult to get tea times on the weekends. In the mornings,
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost impossible.
It might be a bit difficult at Elena, given it's 27 holes. So if you shotgun, what if you don't have another course? So they're gonna just have to cycle.
No,
again.
but you start on one and you finish on the other. So if you start in
It's
sequence,
a 27-hole shotgun.
Yeah, 27 hole shot.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. So what if you weren't part of the shotgun, decided to play that day? Then you're gonna be
then they
out.
can squeeze you in between.
That
Because
was
there are going to be gaps between the nights.
Yeah, but for Santa Elena, after 11, it's already open for the public.
Yeah.
I mean, for whoever
the
doesn't
members.
have a tea
You
time.
don't need the tea time at that point.
No, but
If you just have to be
6 a.m. to 10 from Makiling, Banahaw, and Sierra Madre courses are all gone at 12:01 every Monday.
Yeah, you have to wonder sometimes.
That's very typical, Jed.
yeah. That not only
Raymond
probably
and I
with Elena.
danced around that.
It's difficult. I had the difficulty in Sherwood and in Eagle Ridge at some point. You know.
Orchard is pretty much the same way, and they have a text in.
Yeah, I think the
That's
week,
actually more difficult.
the Saturday game, Saturday morning.
It's a
golf
good
game.
problem.
No, it is a good problem, right? It is
Nevertheless,
a
it's a problem.
but it's a problem. It still is a problem. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, it's so hard to get a tea time there. And I'm like, dude, I never have a tea time, but I play. He goes, what time do you play? I walk in at like 10.
Noon.
And I tee off at about 12:30. And
Perfect.
There's nobody there. You know, but if you've got to be there, if you've got to have that early tea time, then you're stuck fighting with everybody else, right? But if you just walk in at like 10:30, have a leisurely brunch, you know, go to the range, by 12:30, there's nobody on the golf course. It's really easy to tee off. I mean, and Orchard is one of the busiest. It is one of the busiest clubs in the area.
The shotgun days, it's nice because you don't see the chaos. You know, everybody knows that they're in the shotgun. All they have to do is just go to the register, check what hole they're in,
Yeah.
you know, and then they know it's 7 o'clock. Shotgun.
Yeah.
And the veranda's really quiet that time.
So
So
they gotta get ready when the players come back.
exactly. So the
Everyone's
kitchen
gonna
can
come back in
regroup,
together.
and then by the time they have lunch, you know, everything's more prepared than normal.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
You know, for foreign golfers, here's the thing. You're for foreign golfers because we've got a lot of Philams that are listening in the U.S. I know my buddies are listening in SoCal, and I've got a few buddies in Florida, just like you do.
Shout out to San Diego.
Yeah, SDGA. But if you were talking to these people, what would you say to them to convince them to come to Forest Hills?
Come to Forest Hills. It's a different challenge. Mr. Palmer, Mr. Nicholas will be waiting.
Yeah, you know, I mean, can you compare courses here to any courses in SoCal? Anything in SoCal
All right.
That's your next.
Similar?
Yeah, you know, me and Jude have a really different view of the U.S. courses. He's way down there in Florida, and he doesn't know what I'm talking about in Southern California. You know, yeah.
Because I know there's nothing in Florida that looks like these.
You know, Nicholas, I compare it to a course there in San Diego called Carmel Mountain Ranch. It's same type, hilly, you know, gives you challenges on the greens. And the Palmer course, probably people from SD would know this, called Mount Woodson. Raymond Sangel would know this. We've played events there. Tight. You have to know the numbers. Target course. So those two courses would compare Mount Woodson to the Palmer, and probably Carmel Mountain Ranch and for the Nicholas.
There was a golf course I played in LA that was similar to the Nicholas course.
Industry.
But it's shorter.
Industry Hills?
Industry
No,
Hills.
La Cañada.
I haven't played that.
Cañada.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's up in the hills.
It's exactly.
up in the
It's
hills.
hilly also,
Yeah.
but it's short.
Right.
So it's not very long.
In LA,
Near
this
Glendale. It's near Glendale.
but
Yes.
this course reminds me of Industry Hills.
Well, that's
old-
a brutal track.
Yeah, the track of
The-
Art Guevara before, and the Eisenhower and the Bay.
The Ike course. That's got to be one of the most difficult courses
It's
in the US, man.
it's a Q school qualifying course.
I think the slope on that course is like 154.
Yeah, it's somewhere there.
Rating.
That's the Ike,
Yeah, and that's harder than that's a higher slope rate.
and it has a
than anything we have
unique
here.
thing. After the 9 holes, you put your cart in a cable car. It brings you to the 10th tee box. The whole cart goes into a
Well,
cable.
you know what's
car.
interesting about that place is it's built on a dump, man. The whole place is built on a dump. You can see those tubes coming out of the ground with
Oh, yeah.
flames
Yeah,
burning
yeah.
the methane.
The methane.
That's coming up from the dump. No, seriously. Because if you didn't have that,
It'll
things would
explode.
explode. Right? So they have these things set in there. So it's just constantly burning up whatever methane is being generated by the decomposition that's going on underneath.
They used to have one of the best Class A PGA professionals over there,
Yeah, art.
Art Guevara.
Yeah.
But
I know.
Art now is teaching somewhere else in near
I've
Orange County.
I
I
kind of
think.
lost track of it after.
He's been coming over
He used to
Yeah.
go to Sherwood a lot.
a lot, and recent when I was in Eagle, and then during his vacation he'll let us know, and I told him to bring stuff for bets. You know? By the time he goes home, he doesn't have equipment anymore. So him and June said, "Go at it."
Yeah, well, that was a very interesting, hour and a half almost.
Hour and a half. Hour and 30.
No, you were right. huh?
Right? I mean, we said it was going to be. We could talk forever once we got started, and we weren't lying. So, anyway,
It's gonna be a two-part.
it's going to be a two-part. We've broken this down into a two-part episode. So you'll hear part 1, which is Forest Hills general discussion first, and then our interview with Jude is going to be the second installment. So we want to thank everyone that's joined us, and please subscribe to our podcast.
Yeah, so I'll post all of the details. We're available on Spotify and all of the podcast.
Yeah, we're basically going to be in every podcast channel.
Castbox,
there is, so
Apple Podcasts,
Castbox, Apple
Alexa.
Podcasts. We'll be on
and,
everything.
The video
And
will
YouTube.
be on YouTube.
So please like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, and please comment if you have any topics that you'd like us to
Yeah,
cover.
please. We want to hear from you. So
All right.
let us know. See ya.
See you.
See you guys. Bye.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jed. That was fun.
Thanks, guys.